Good morning, everyone. This is Chrisi from SolsticeATR and Vulcan Capital Research. What I'd like to do is cover the Fortune 500 and a couple of other instruments for the week. And it's going to be a short week. I hope everybody will enjoy their Christmas holidays. Let's first start by taking a look at the gaps in the market. Plus, we have about 11 VPOCs, which is most prominent value and price action that happened throughout since November, beginning of November. Let's start it from November 10th and going up higher. So we can do November 6th, November 8th, and going higher. We have 11 of them. Plus we have gaps, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 gaps above us. Most people say we do not have those gaps. Remember, those gaps, if the market turns south, we can refill those gaps, and I marked them by going to the style. You can look at the style in the setting and the futures, and what I didn't show the overnight action in the market. So when I put them on, those gaps are going to disappear, and the Fortune 500 company will no longer have gaps in them. And let me zoom in here. You can see that these gaps are no longer on the charts because the overnight action takes over them. This is why I wanted to show those gaps, in order to realize that when we come back through, those gaps are going to fall right through them. So far, the Christmas holidays, we've been rallying on light volume with not much conviction, but we're still rallying higher. If we go to the weekly chart, on the weekly bar, we had a up bar higher. So if we take just this action from here and zoom in, you can see that on the weekly bar, this is a strong bar. Prior week, and the week before, we fell down, rallied back up, and continued inside this channel. We have a major channel up here and one down here that we need to keep an eye on, and one wider one here. These are the two major ones, and I drew the refibs and the resets on the weekly. So keep an eye what the action and price action are on the weekly. If I go to the 78-minute, I wanted to show these gaps in the market. Those shadows are the gaps in the overnight action, and the price action during the day is the black area from the 9:30 till 4:15 afternoon East Coast. And if you trade on the West Coast, such as myself in California, it's from 6:30 till 1:15. So let's take a look. If we change this from the style, we go to monkey bars, and we can see here we're showing 30-minute daily instead of going 30. What I want to do, 20 days, 78-minute. And what I wanted to show is those POCs in the volume profile, which are basically never being revisited. This is with the overnight action, which won't work. So we're going to go in the setting, go to futures, uncheck them, and go apply. And you will see that there are virgin control points and gaps in the market between each price. If you look between here, the low was 32.19 quarter. The high was here, 32.1275. So there's a gap between here and here. So that's a virgin control POC, which never been revisited. We have another one here that's 2. We have another one down here that's 4, and we have one here that's 5. If you look between here, the low was 31.01 quarter, and the high here was 30.9475. So that's a POC. I mean, that's a gap in here. We have another one in here. If you take a look at the low here, was 31.2550, and the high here was 31.20 quarter. So that's another gap. There's 1, 2, 3 right here in that short period of time. So look for where the gaps or where those POCs have never been revisited. So we have 1 here, 2 here, 3 here. That's 4 bucks. I went to a shorter time frame to show you where the most volume is and where the gaps are. The gaps are gonna refill automatically. Let's just go back in style, go back to regular candles, and we'll start looking at each instrument step by step. That's the Fortune 500 company on the daily. Let's take a look at the NASDAQ. NQ is in a similar situation, grinding higher. In continuation, we have a wider channel. Let's take a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, which is a little bit more concentrated. Remember, the Dow has Boeing. It got hit a little bit. Apple rallied. There's a little bit more gaps. You can see them in here as well as here, as well as here. But keep an eye that we are traveling higher. Let's take a look at the small cap RTY, the canary in the coal mine. This is the one I really like everyone to concentrate on. And the reason why I'm saying this, I want to go to the weekly to show you what I'm looking for. Remember, we have this high to this low. We finally grinded above this area. We're trying to push higher. My target was basically up here. If you take the distance, you create a box here, and you create a box from here. We're almost getting to that where we broke down from. Can the Russell fill the gap? Possibility. If it does U-turn and this sector rotation changes from small cap, large cap, and mid-cap sector, look for the reversal. If we can continue for the Christmas rally till January top and come back in, that would be great. Let's take a look at GC. Gold, this is the one I want to really concentrate. On the weekly, it looks like a flag. I'd like to see these up targets taken out and eventually go higher. And I'm going to go to the daily to show it to you guys so you can see what I'm looking for. This is the reset I really wanted to come back to before the going higher, but it never did. We have been traveling in an up, down channel, up channel. We've been, going back and forth between these two channels. But what I did, if you look, we're having higher lows every time we come back to this low. We've been bouncing. If this time this up channel is violated, the continuation would be to this first up channel, where there's that little gap here and eventually fill where we fell from to the 1523 area and fill the gap higher. I'd like to position myself if the market next year in January and everything turns the other way around, look for gold rallying higher, look for the Fortune 500, the Dow and NASDAQ to reset a little bit down. Let's take a look at oil. And CL has been grinding, higher on Friday. It did a little bit small reset. You can see this channel is trying to come back, where the Saudi and that little crisis happened between Iran and Saudi on that, hitting that oil well. It dragged it up. We reset. As long as we're above the 58.78, we're still bullish. 58, see, I like the 58.75 area. It says 58.67. If we stay above it, we can continue higher, eventually fill, this prior high. Let's take a look at Apple. Apple's, I think it's a little bit overvalued, but it keeps grinding higher. Let's take a look at Amazon. Amazon didn't as much participate in the market as I expected due to the holidays. I was thinking, it'll clear the 1824 in order to continue high. It's still range bound in between these two channels. We're above, that 50% fib between this channel and this channel. You have a midpoint. Keep an eye on it. Let's take a look at BABA. BABA did a very nice 100% retracement, got a new high for the year. Keep an eye if it holds, the prior breakout here in consolidation of the 203.70 to continue higher or not. Remember, there's the China deal and all that stuff. Let's take a look at Facebook. Facebook, it's in a cone, trying to break up. This was the prior high for the year, and this is the low. If it eventually breaks it, that would be great. That's Facebook. Let's take a look at Google. Google, on Friday reset a little bit, but keep an eye on it for the backside of the 18 SMA and the prior 1325 area to consolidate to continue higher. If not, be careful of it. Let's take a look at Netflix and FLX. Netflix, I called it last week in the group and I said, keep an eye on the 304, 306, 308. If it clears that area, it's going to continue higher to the 330 area. I got out a little bit, unfortunately, through my value line, had Netflix in it. I got out around the 319 area, I made a mistake on this candle resetting. I saw, it may be, 3 days up, maybe it'll, and what did it do on Thursday, Friday, continue higher. I got it in this area myself. So if it's going to continue, keep an eye on it because it's hit the prior high. This was the prior. If it can create a small little shoulder to continue higher, that would be great because I think Netflix has potential. It's different than Disneyland. Disneyland is a different, you know, as well, in the movie production or whatever, they do. Take a look at DIS next to it. DIS, since the earning report has retraced, I had this fib, we got out in this area, hasn't been able to clear, the 49.50 area to continue back up. I think Disneyland, if it comes back in this area, holds the 45 or the 38.2, the 43 where it took off from, that would be a nice reset to buy it. Let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla is way above the annual high and it broke the prior, the 389 area and continued to the upside. I'd like to see Tesla reset a little bit, create a shoulder in order to continue higher. Let's take a look at Win. Win did a nice job, break out of this channel, consolidated, rounded top and busted up and eventually hit the prior double top here. Let's call this 1, 2, almost 3, missed it and retraced a little bit. Keep an eye on that level or it comes back to this area. Let's take a look at one more time GC. I want to GC. I want to review it a little bit on a 4-hour chart, and I want to do the ES in a similar situation. GC, you can see that this down channel back and forth, and we have these two channels. If I can clear this wedge and this midpoint of these two channels, I think the first target would be here, second one here, third one up here. I'd like to see gold go higher. Let's take a look at the VX. VX is on the floor. Let's just go that slash VX here. Let's go just daily, just to show you guys. Oh, is that VIX? Yeah. Let's do the VX on a. Why is it doing that? Auto. It is on an auto. There must be a wick. Look, there's a bad wick here, which shouldn't be in here. That's why the candle shows it. Let's just use the VIX. I'm not going to clean it. Just go to VIX, the ETF of it. I didn't know it had that. We're coming back to that 11, 12 area. If the VIX going to U-turn from this area higher, keep an eye on the VIX breaking out the 12 to 13 area and continuing back up. If there's going to be a change in January, that's why I'm looking at gold. And let's take a look at the ES one more time. The ES, you guys already know that we have virgin control points and stuff in it. So what I'd like to do in the ES, go to the 4-hour chart or the hourly chart one more time and show you that I'd like to see continuation for end of the year. If we're going to fall back, keep an eye on these gaps here. You can see them. There's a big gap here. There's another gap here. There's another gap here. There's another gap here. These are 4 on the shorter time frame. Can we see a reset? Possibility. If the Christmas between now, since it's a short week till end of the month, keep an eye on that short week. If there's going to be continuation or the light volume dragging it up, if there's a reset, keep an eye on that gap and keep an eye on this gap here. These are easily can be revisited. Okay, so hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe, hit the like button if you like. If you don't like, let us know what you think and how we can help you. And you can check us out on Discord, SolsticeATR or Vulcan ATR, and look forward to seeing you. Take care.